In my hands, I'm holding my first ever fountain pen, the beginning of the greatest story in my lifetime. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I'm your host here from PenVenture. Welcome to another PenTalk 101 video. And in this one, we're going to be reflecting on my first ever fountain pen, the emotions, and also what sparked my passion for writing instruments. And I want to take you on a journey throughout many years of my lifetime in which I've discovered that pretty much at every single step of this lifetime, I was surrounded or close by fountain pens. I got to use them, I got to enjoy them, and we will see where is the starting point of that story. Everything that you see, PenVenture, its beginning or establishing date, it's around 2015 when I really started into collecting writing instruments, high-end writing instruments, and discovering the community behind them, and to just get in touch with all of you. But before that, a long time ago, there was something which today I call passion, story, soul, pursuit of just the joy that I can get when using and writing with a fountain pen. And that story and that journey has a start point which is deeply rooted into this very first fountain pen. And even this example, this is not the pen that I've used. This is a pen which, by the love and passion which I shared on the channel with all of you, and your love and passion for writing instruments made it possible. So one of my good friends and clients and people that I've met in person that I've dealt with in regards of writing instruments gifted me this very pen, and this is the model and the color and everything that just got to be my first pen. And let me share how those times when I was 6 years old with my mom shopping for writing instruments around the September 15, which is the date in which the school year begins in Romania, how I was drooling over the counters where these writing instruments were sold, and what did I got? This is a very cheap Rainbow, the number 202. This is the very box in which it was sold. Individual boxes. These fountain pens were arriving into 30 by 30 centimeter cardboard box, and they were all stacked like this, and you got, as a first grade student, to pick a fountain pen of your color. I remember seeing black ones with gold trim, with silver trim. I remember seeing some navy blue ones, but what I've picked back then was a green one. I remember going with my mom. I got to hold this box in my hands, and I remember having my mom with me, and she had a plastic bag, and in that bag was notebooks, it was wrapping foils, colored paper, scissors, glue, paint, and all sorts of things that we all call school supplies. But I never put this pen with this box in my mom's shopping bag. I kept it like this, and I went very proud home to get my first taste of a fountain pen. I used to see my grandfather writing with a fountain pen, but sadly that pen did not stand the test of time, and I could not get that specific pen. But I do remember my grandfather from my mom's side writing with the fountain pen letters, and also taking notes about stamps. He was collecting stamps, and I got to drive home with my mom holding the box like this. And I remember having, I believe it was a super dry ink and a blue ink, and that was my very first ink and fountain pen. As soon as I got home, I just took sit in the kitchen table, and on the kitchen table I've opened the box, and inside was this very fountain pen, completely wrapped like this. I am very thankful towards Christian from Romania, which is a friend, a customer, and a person which we share a lot of this passion. And we've met in person in Bucharest. So, Christian, thank you very, very much for this gift. This was my very first pen. It is made in China, Rainbow 202. And this fountain pens, I believe they were just made and sold from the 70s all the way up until the 90s. So my point in which I've got to have this pen was 96. I don't know if it was manufactured close by 96 or it was a old stock of fountain pens, but this pen was not sold at a library shop or anything like this. It was at grocery shops, at the shop where we used to get in our pauses in between classes sandwiches nearby the school. So whenever you dropped one of these writing instruments and bended the nib, or we used to play darts sometimes with them, we used to go at that store and to pick a fresh one from the table, and it came just like this. I do have many good memories in which I just completely bashed one of these writing instruments. I don't know if there is living examples of these writing instruments from that times in the storage area that we have at home. I haven't looked very thoroughly, but I think not. So it is a very pleasant surprise that Christian sent me one of these writing instruments, and I'm super emotional because it takes me back to all of those good moments when I first got to have such a writing instrument. And also I do remember every single moment that my mom stood by me, and sometimes I was crying, sometimes I was frustrated, sometimes I was bored, and sometimes I was angry because my mom was very dedicated to have me learn a calligraphical writing style. And this video is not going to be only stories. We're going to ink this writing instrument and we're going to give it a test drive. Let me see if it's the same that I've known writing with this writing instrument for 20, how much years back? 29 years. Yeah, this pen, it's something of a copy, replica, or interpretation of a fountain pen from Parker, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's a Parker 51, but don't quote me on that. My specialty is not vintage fountain pens. Quite possibly I would offend someone if I'm trying to reference something. It came with a metal cap, just like this one, a stamped clip. This was quite rough, but we always chew on the cap like this, or on the back, or we just rip the clip apart, and these fountain pens were used without too much care. Right here, Rainbow 202, which I suspect it's the maker, Rainbow, and the 202 is the model of the pen. The cap has this lines motif and everything, and we were very disturbing in the classrooms because we were always rubbing our fingernails on those lines, and the teacher was very disturbed by us not paying attention in classroom. And yeah, good memories from them. I hope Emily and Emma is going to be a better student than I was back in the day. And if you girls are going to be seeing this video, I hope you do better than me, because I was known to be quite a character back in those years, first grade all the way up, well, practically until I finished college, and after that, it never stopped. Anyway, let's get back. So this pen, it's a push to cap, so no threads, nothing whatsoever. This is very easy to take notes, and it's quite of a system which today's kids that go to school and just want to have their first pen, I do strongly recommend someone to have them with a push to cap or push to post pen, because it's very easy to have it uncapped and to start writing with it. Let's have a look at the nib, because the nib is a hooded nib and it came with this arrow motif, and our teacher back then was saying to all of us that she would not want us to cover that arrow like this or like this or something. No, that arrow should be visible and the pen should be gripped just like this. So this is how I've learned to write with a writing instrument, the grip position and everything. Possibly you've heard me saying in my videos is that in Romania it's mandatory to write with a fountain pen still today, from first grade all the way up until 8th grade. I don't know if this would be also the norm for the future, but as of now, today, at the time of this video, every single student must write with a fountain pen. And in the first grade, you actually start with calligraphy classes. You learn how to do cursive script, and you learn to do all of those very delightful shapes for letters, like O's, like lines, like connecting lines and everything, and you get to learn how to write. Those years helped me a lot to develop my technique in writing and everything, and having my mom breathing down my neck every single day, watching me do homeworks, usually sometimes crying if I messed up something, because I knew what that meant. At the end of the page, my mom would have let me to finish the entire page and then ripped it. We need to start over. You need to learn to write very tidy, very clean. Every single letter must connect well and it should look tidy. And now I'm thankful because that is something which a lot of you enjoy seeing in my videos, my handwriting. And I don't know if it's good, if it's decent, if it's above average, I don't know. I would say that there is still room for improvement, and I would say that it's something that I'm very grateful towards my mom for this. Anyway, let's get back. So the gripping point, it's not that thick, and the pen is very comfortable even for small hands, because students in first grade could not held fountain pens which are super thick, so this pen was ideal for that. The hooded nib, I think it offers better conductivity towards the ink getting to the paper, and also it helps just protect the nib, I think. I don't know which is the exact specific role to have a hooded nib and to just have the point showing. This is a steel nib, no gold, nothing whatsoever, and although it's gold color. These fountain pens were costing, if I remember correctly, 1.5, or in sometimes or some cases was 2 lace, which that today translates to like 40 cents dollars, 35 cents euros, and this was not expensive at all. I believe it's mass production, injection molded parts and everything. It had a small ink window, and this is where you could check if the ink was there, if the ink was inside the pen. And let's unscrew and check out the filling system. Oh, my nemesis, to say so. This is something which was a very messy. A sack filling system. It's a rubber sack with a spring bar, and as you press, you remove the air, and as you release the spring bar, all of that vacuum sucks up ink. And this was one of those things that I usually do towards this pen. I would have removed this and just throw it away in the bin or something, and we used to play with this all day long, and it's a very convenient way to just get some ink into the fountain pen. And this filling system was very problematic. If you would be to shake the pen, the ink would have been just gushing out. If you just simply pressed on it, playing or just fiddling with it, all of the ink would come out, and usually my fingers were always blue. That was something which happened back then. Now, I think it happens also right now. This is the overall look of the Rainbow 202, my first fountain pen from first grade. Now, today, realistically talking, kids like my kids have access towards some of the most interesting writing instruments up to date. They can have something like this, which is a Preppy. The Preppy is one of the writing instruments from Platinum, which I do strongly believe it's impressive. You know that possibly you are watching this channel knowing that in my personal collection or in my day-to-day routine, I handle super expensive writing instruments in excess of 10,000 euros one, or expensive, over 100 euros. It's just perspective, but just trying to make a point. You think of it as being, wow, a preppy? What's cool about a preppy? Well, it's simply how that pan could be produced in millions and millions of units, all of them performing the same function well and having a pricing which is that low. Today's kids, my kids, have access towards this writing instrument. The point is, no matter how you start, it's how you continue. For me, this very writing instrument put me on a very, very beautiful journey. The journey where I discovered my passion. It's something astonishing to look back and to remember how many good moments and how many moments altogether I had with such writing instruments. And I, I'm feeling nostalgic right now. Do you want to see this pen, how it's inked up and how it's writing, and to just observe a writing experience with it? I assume you said yes. And also, on the same note, let me know if this was fun, interesting, and if it was, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. This will help me a lot with the YouTube algorithm. If you want to support the growth of the PenVenture YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe and turn the notification bell on. Let me ask you this. What was your first pen and your first memory with a fountain pen just as well? Let's see where your journey started. Let's see if it was similar to this one or not, how far apart these experiences can be. Because I have first customers that bought Namiki fountain pens. If you would give me a Namiki fountain pen back then, I would have gone back in time and said, let me have this, let me guard this writing instrument until you are worthy to pick it up. But again, I have customers of mine that started their fountain pen journey with a Namiki. So pretty far apart stories and experiences. Let me know into the comment section down below which was your first memory with a fountain pen. And now let's get to ink up this relic, to say so, or fossil or dinosaur. But this is something which sparked everything that you call today PenVenture, my passion, and also what I love to do daily, and to share this with all of you. Anyway, let's get some ink, and I'm gonna go with something in blue because this is what we used back then. We're gonna go with Florida Blue from Diamine, and we're gonna press, dip, release, press, release. Give it a few good squeezes. Let's wipe it clean. Oh, back then I would have used my t-shirt and my mom would go nuts. Let's try to write. Oh my God. I would have used to have a Nibmeister like myself back then, because this has a touch more feedback that I like. But this is just now in present, knowing a variety of other writing instruments. Rainbow 202. It's fairly wet, and we have ink, Diamine, Florida Blue. Let's check the wetness. Quite wet. Juicy. Nice. Very nice. Very nice flow. And let's check some normal figure of eights. It's a nib size in between extra fine and fine, more towards the finish lines. Flex. This nib is just like a nail. Let's try to see if we can open it up in flexing. But again, it's hooded, so it has a contact point on top, and this prevents it from just spreading apart and having those two tines come apart and vary the line. And yeah, it's hard as a nail. Some line variation could be obtained, but I suspect this is just from the pressing and just mashing the fibers of the paper. And we used to see these writing instruments feather like crazy, but Back then we had very cheap paper, and a combination of this scratchy nib or more toothy nib with that paper would have scratched the fibers and make the ink just simply feather. And let's try with the famous sentence. Ooh, that's a lot of feedback. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. It's not ideal as a nib, and it is quite feedbacky, toothy. It has some of a sweet spot, but it's good. I've seen modern writing instruments with more scratchiness than this one. But again, this is something which is very nostalgic towards me because I do remember all of the good moments with this pens and me discovering the use of it and my mom discovering how difficult it was to do homeworks with me. Anyway, let's unravel and digest. What can we take from this story? Well, first of all, we can take the fact that no matter how you put it, slice it, or dice it, I was a difficult student, but that's not the point. The point is this: no matter how insignificant for some or for someone an object or something could be for you watching or myself back then, an object like this one sparked a quest, a passion, and it filled me with joy and love. And throughout my years, I was very close to writing instruments, no matter if I had the what we call today pen venture. No, I haven't had a significant dream from first grade to just start pen venture, but I had the passion for objects like this because I keep on enjoying, discovering, and wanting more and more of them. And throughout my first year of school all the way up until 8th grade, I wrote with fountain pens. In my high school years, I graduated from technical drawing, and basically I was surrounded by isographs. And me being lazy back then, I used to have a Waterman fountain pen which I filled up with India ink, black ink, because it was very convenient, to say so, not to use isographs, because we used to draw with pencils like this ones, and then we used to have isographs of different thicknesses to just do the contour and to set everything on paper. And me being lazy, I used to have a Waterman fountain pen to do both things, and to also use for drawing and also use for my day-to-day notes in class. So I was having fountain pens all of the times since first grade all the way up until college. And in college, I took a little small gap in which I haven't used fountain pens because I've used a roller. And as I finished college, I believe in the office, as I was starting to work for my dad and work towards starting my own company, I started using fountain pens because it was a way to doodle while talking by the phone, and I still have a lot of those drawings and everything that I used to doodle or take notes with fountain pens. And after this, around 2015, which is like a decade ago, I started to indulge into more expensive and more elaborate writing instruments, which then I've discovered the whole community aspect of it, and it sparked a different facet of the hobby itself. And I've set myself on the trail to follow this passion. And today, everything that meant that I call pen venture. So that is the story. Let me know which was your first pen. This was mine, and you were introduced to it. And this is a very nostalgic moment and video for me to do. And I've been planning to do this video for a long time ago. Let me know what you think about it. What is your first pen and what's your first memory with fountain pens altogether? Down below, if you're looking for your first pen, you'll find the details for our website, our social media accounts, phone number, email, anything and everything that you may need in order to get in contact with me, and I will help you with your first purchase or your purchase altogether. Thank you very, very much. Don't forget to subscribe to the PenVenture YouTube channel if you want to follow our growth. Turn the notification bell on and you will be notified whenever we have new content. If you want to see more of my previous content, click here and enjoy. As always, I'm your host from PenVenture. I look forward to seeing you next video. Take care, stay safe, right on, bye-bye.